What's going on, everyone, and welcome to the TXR Podcast, your favorite place for Xbox talk and more on Sunday nights. This is episode number 132. I'm your host, Invader, and we've certainly got a lot to talk about tonight, especially regarding the latest Inside Xbox Series X event. However, before we get into that stuff, I would like to extend a very happy Mother's Day to all the wonderful moms out there. We appreciate all that you do. So, hey, any moms watching, thank you very much. Now, let me get to some of the awesome panel intros. Centurion Buddy, hey, good show last night in the Shop Podcast. What have you been up to this weekend?
Oh man, just tackling the backlog life. Finally trying to hammer out Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Gonna get myself psyched up for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Looking forward to talking about that. But also kind of playing around in a couple other games. I just got playing, Resident Evil 7. This is my first time playing it, and so I'm still kind of like on the fence on how I truly feel, because I grew up with that Resident Evil 2 experience, and now this whole 7 thing, it's more casually paced compared to some of the other games I've played. We'll just say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's one of those games that
on the Xbox, or
oh yeah, I'm playing it on the Xbox. Well, I would say the only other experience that I would want to play outside of an Xbox One X at this point would be PlayStation VR. But I don't own a PSVR, so I'm obviously going to just play it on my
you
X.
should play that game in VR if you ever get the chance. But
I've heard it's very intense in VR.
Yeah.
I could tell from playing the game it would be intense in VR.
Oh,
But
it is.
sometimes, I'm going to be upfront. I love games where it's constantly to the wall, constant action. You're always doing something. Sometimes in Resident Evil 7, though, man, it's like almost like I hate to use the term like watching paint dry, but you're like just casually walking down hallways because you don't want to like run too fast, because if you do, you just get yourself jacked up.
So you have mixed feelings about it? I don't understand.
I have a little bit of mixed feelings about it, yes. Purely because
I thought the game was amazing. I mean, it revitalized the genre and the series.
See, that's where I'm right now. I'm only on, I guess, let me see. I've noticed how the game is doing it. I've gone from the guest house to the main house to, I guess, where the mother hangs out at this point. I'm now, I guess, getting ready to battle the mom of the family. And I've already kind of picked up that, the family has something going on with it. This is more like you go from something that affects an entire town, or it just seems like a virus, and now it's just like localized to a family. And I know as you progress through the game, it's supposed to get more like Resident Evil, and I'm hoping it sucks me in more. But definitely it's different than the Resident Evil I feel like I'm used to, because of just, I guess, the way the dad was constantly just coming back and stalking you and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was just I'm just kind of used to the Resident Evil experience from back in the day, because the last one I played was Code Veronica.
Interesting. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about Resident Evil.
Don't get me wrong. The game's not crap. No, don't get me wrong. It's a great game, and I don't want to ramble on about it, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I won the Resident Evil 3 remake off of the Gaming Beyond the Box podcast. I have that downloaded. I still have yet to play it. Definitely waiting to until I get some free time. But I'm looking forward to my time with that. I've heard mixed things personally, but I can't wait to give it a try. Jeremy, how's your weekend been, man?
It's been busy with work. I mean, that's about it. I haven't really been playing any games recently besides Skyrim, believe it or not.
I thought I saw you on that, yeah.
I went back to an oldie but goodie, and I've spent, back in the 360 days, I spent a good, I want to say 300 to 400 hours on Skyrim, and I can go back to it and still go back to it and play the hell out of it, which I'm doing right now. But other than that, I haven't really gotten into anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, it's well, that's what happens, man. Like, you get some free time and then you want to play some new games, but you tend to fire up the oldies but goodies, right? The classics they just keep going back to. Uh,
Yep. I
definitely.
think I'm a lot like Mr. Shockley in a way, where he likes to go back to the retro days. The retro shock.
The System
Yeah.
Shock.
System shock.
Ooh, nice. Speaking of Shockley, how's things at your end, bud?
Pretty good. Can't complain. I've been playing some Death Stranding. That game's really kind of boring me right now. It's just, good God. Like, there's some good elements to it, but it's just like,
Cover
just
your
the
ears,
whole-
Jeremy.
it's so boring. Oh my God. But I've been jumping back into. Oh yeah, go ahead.
The gameplay, yeah, I would agree. It's boring, but I mean, because all you're doing is literally dropping off packages. But I would say there's more good than bad with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
So-
mean, there's definitely been some good parts. I'm at like that early stage where you have to like first encounter those like enemies that
Yeah.
are like humans and have to
And
steal
later-
something from their camp, and it's just like
Yeah,
I'm not sure how I'm supposed to get around it because there's like so many of them, and I know there's some weeds I can hide in, but it's like I'm playing it on
Yeah.
hard too. Maybe I shouldn't have done that.
no. And later on, it does open up when you're able to fight. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. I've been playing some Persona 4 Golden. Been trying to get through that. And that's what my
Persona
my
4 is
avatar
that's a great game. I love the Persona series in general.
I'm waiting for that Shin Megami Tensei that they first teased at the Switch launch event, and we've heard nothing since 3 years ago. Shin Megami
Well, you can
Tensei
go back.
5.
You can always go back and play it on the PlayStation 2.
Yeah, that's true. I haven't played most of those
I mean, shit, I remember playing it on my Boy Advance back day too.
Yeah. Well, I definitely like the main series more so than the Persona series, but it's still
Yeah.
good too.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, that's Persona's a game franchise. I'm very tempted to get a PlayStation just to play Persona 5. Very interesting title there.
Can
And
somebody
I know I
explain to me
give-
what Persona 5 is? I have always
Oh my
wanted to ask this
God.
damn question.
Think of
Don't answer
Pokemon.
that.
So the main Shin Megami Tensei, think of Pokemon but with demons, and you can fuse them together to make more demons, kind of like evolving Pokemon.
Yeah, pretty cool.
And then Persona is a spin-off of that series where it's more, most of them are like having to do with like kids in school, and you build relationships to make your abilities stronger. So it's all
Mhm.
tied up into that a little bit more.
See,
with
that's where
school
I got
events and
confused
jobs and-
on the whole school thing. So is there like excitement to that, or is this like
So
a walking
imagine-
simulator?
So no, it's an RPG. So imagine have you ever seen 210?
Have I ever seen that?
Anyway, you might
No,
be-
I've heard of it. But before you go on, Downer, what I mean by like walking simulator, I'm just talking like, let's talk about the epilogue of Red Dead Redemption 2 when you're out there shoveling cow crap. Yeah, you're playing a game. You're technically playing a great game, but you're still doing something that's completely repetitive that nobody looks forward to in real life. And that's where I'm just like, so when you're in school building these relationships and stuff, is there any excitement to this structure, or are you just walking around talking to people?
Yeah, it's at least in 4. I haven't played 5, but in 4, it's fast paced. Like, oh, you'll go to soccer practice, and it lasts like 20 seconds. Like it kind of skips through it. Like, oh, you built up this relationship with, and now your thing is a higher. So that it skips over that part pretty quick. So, but it's still been pretty enjoyable, and the story's pretty good so far.
You know what I realize in all this is Shockley is a hardcore gamer. He's hardcore, way more so than Centurion, because we talk about these old games and he has no idea what we're talking about. He looks at us like deer in the headlights. So, in order to qualify as a hardcore gamer, Centurion, you need to follow up with these games. I'm sorry, but
really,
yes.
Oh, you getting the call out, man. Are you gonna
That's
take
where
that?
for him, I would say Shin Megami Tensei mainline series is a better. because it's darker and it's
Just because I don't get down with the Asian
Yep.
side
and
of
there's
gaming.
no school involved in the
There's
in
no
the main
school.
series.
I don't know. See, that's where like I said, I grew up in a Nintendo household. I've played a lot of the older Nintendo stuff kind of growing up.
Like
But
what?
God,
Yeah.
Metroid,
All right. You already feel.
Zelda, stuff like that. But no, I didn't have parents that embraced gaming. I had everything that was pretty much gaming related to me. I had to go out, kind of work for on my own, and I had to kind of pick and choose on what games I could afford because literally I was buying what 2, 3, 4 games a year. So I was doing what I could.
Since we're going back to the old school days, talking about our childhood memories of gaming, my father had a one of those old school tabletop Pong machine, the one with the with the dials. And he used to say when I was 2 or 3 years old, I used to challenge his softball buddies when he used to come home, and they used to try to beat me. And I was like 2 or 3 years old, and I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I was like 3 or 4 years old, and we used to have some heated battles, and it was a 4-player multiplayer kind of experience where it's just tabletop tennis. That's all it is. And then later on, I got my first Nintendo. I remember I think when did Nintendo come out? 84, 86. Oh my God, I can't even remember. Anyway, I remember getting a Nintendo for Christmas, and I ran down to my parents' bedroom and said, I must have been a good boy, Mommy and Daddy, because Santa gave me a Nintendo. And from there, I became a Nintendo fan, but then when Sega came out, it was all over. That's a short history of it.
See, I never got to actually own a Sega because I was told I had a Nintendo. Why did I need to diversify?
Yeah, that's true.
The key was to get a friend that had the opposite, so then you could just enjoy both.
Now, the guy that lived across the street from me, now growing up as a kid, the guy that lived across the street from me had a PC, and he exposed me to Doom.
Ooh.
So that's where I actually saw a different side of gaming when I went over to his house when it came to PC. That was kind of like where it was like when I was a kid, I think, I remember playing a lot of stuff on the PC.
Mm-hmm.
I had my Nintendo, but I did have the computer. It wasn't until probably after the GameCube when all of a sudden I kind of started going into different platforms because somebody gave me an OG Xbox, and from there I was hooked.
Nice.
Very nice, very nice. Nice little history we got going on there, guys. All right, we already got some people filing into the chat. Jay, the graphic god, thanks for joining us, bud. Jago Kukin. Who else do we got here? Solomon Curry, thank you for joining us. Born Distracted, I know you're waiting for us to talk about all these games that were announced. We'll get to that very soon, my friend. And who else? Alex Basha. Hey, Alex, thanks for joining us. And to everyone else listening in. Before we begin, I'd like to let everyone know that we are doing a giveaway for the upcoming Shark PG Maneater for Xbox One. Head over to our Twitter and check out the pinned tweet for ways on how to enter. The giveaway does end May 22nd, so definitely get on that. It looks like a pretty unique RPG. I'm excited to test it out, and we cannot wait to give that away.
I do have a Mother's Day story I got to tell you guys about now. Jesus. And it's bringing back bad memories because my mother, and I'd never forgive her for this, but 4 days before Mother's Day, and it was back in 87, my father purchased me one of those Tron arcade machines, and it was it's one of those light up one, the black light, the one with the black light, and surround sound speakers. And nowadays it's worth about $5,000-$6,000 in decent condition.
Ooh.
So anyways, my mother, since I had the Sega Genesis, she felt like I had too many video games. it wasn't maybe it was the Sega. Yes, it was one of the Sega machines. Anyway, she felt like I had way too many systems, and she ended up selling it at a yard sale for $125. And I never forgive her for that. So, if you're listening, God damn you to hell.
I feel like Jeremy later on in life is going to get a hold of one of those machines, and it's going to be enshrined in his house somewhere in like some kind of like bitter statement.
And not to mention, she threw away like $1,500 worth of GI Joes.
Ooh,
It's Mother's Day. It's bringing back really bad memories. So I'll never forgive her.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, you love your mom.
Awkward. Guys, my mom's the greatest. Jesus, it's just a funny story. Jeez, but she did sell my Tron machine.
Oof. Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? You kind of like bite your tongue. It's like, oh, I love my mom. I love her to death. But, ooh, mom, did you really have to do that? Oh, it kind of hurts.
If you know my mother, imagine myself, but like 10 times crazier. My she lives life to the fullest. She's pretty crazy. She's like, she's 63 years old in a 21-year-old body.
Oh, wow.
She's pretty amazing.
No doubt, man. All right. Okay, fellas, we are going to dive right into things and head into our first topic of the evening. And of course, Xbox recently had their latest Inside Xbox episode, which served as a showcase for a bunch of Xbox Series X third-party games. The general reaction, well, it seems to be mixed, a little disappointing to some. Although I'll admit I liked a lot of what was shown personally. We saw CGI trailers, and we did see some gameplay as well. Centurion, I'm going to go to you first on this one. What did you think of this event? Did Xbox truly showcase games for the Xbox Series X?
Man, I have been kind of rolling this question around in my head since Thursday night when I came home from work and sat down and watched Inside Xbox.
Don't do it, Centurion. Don't do it.
See, now this is where some people could see as what I'm about to say is damage controlling, but okay, was I overexcited? Was I overexcited? I will admit that yes, I was, but after I sat and kind of thought about it for a second, we're talking about an event that is kicking off, or at least is supposed to be helping Jeff Keighley kick off a 4-month string of events. And Xbox is rumored to be doing an event every single one of those months. Now, as far as I know, the only ones that were guaranteed were in May and July. But when you're coming out the gate, I don't see why myself thought that Microsoft coming out of the gate should completely show every big banger that they have under their belt if they have them. When it's really the first event of many. And then also in doing the show last night with PTK, Insipid Ghost, you know who he is, right?
I'm familiar with him, yeah.
Okay. He kind of struck me with a point that I couldn't disagree with. That could you imagine if you look at all the games that were shown in that Inside Xbox, we're all talking about developers that are not exactly super up there when it comes to popularity and the pedigree that comes with some of these developers. And Microsoft is obviously extending an arm, helping these developers at a time when there's E3 and other events that these developers can use to help advertise their future products. That's not there. So Microsoft is now essentially lending stage time on Inside Xbox for these games. And you don't exactly want some of these smaller developers to be overshadowed by the larger developers. Could you imagine if the example that was given to me, if they showed the new WB Arkham Batman game at the very end? you wouldn't be talking about any of the games that were shown that whole show. You'd all be talking about the end, and I couldn't argue.
Nobody's still talking about them.
If actually no, I've been talking about them. There's games like Bright Memory looks like a good game to me. The Second Extinction game. There's a couple games that are really kind of like have piqued my interest. And like what's really interesting is a lot of stuff's going under the radar about some of these games. And maybe this is where Microsoft should have at least kind of put the like. Come on. What annoyed me is the only thing that let you know some of these games were going to Game Pass was a little pop-up in the corner. I think that they should have been a little bit more in your face with some of the stuff about these games, like Medium. The game Medium is going to be a Series X and PC exclusive.
Correct.
Exclusive to that hardware. In other words, you try to stick Medium in an Xbox One, that game will not work. You need either a Series X or PC caliber hardware to run that game. So for starters, that's a major thing when it comes to people we're talking about is this, the fact the Xbox One exists going to hold back games. This is the first example of a developer saying, hell no, we're actually not even going to develop for it. We're just going straight to the top. And there's some really good mature titles coming out that have piqued my interest. It looks like I'm hoping some of these games come out around Halloween time. That'd be a great time for them. As I've been able to reflect on this show, I really see now that Microsoft has reached out to help smaller developers get some stage time because we have 4 months. And now where did we drop the ball a little bit? Probably like there's that debate on was Valhalla really a gameplay trailer? Was it was a trailer that was done using gameplay engine? But was it a vertical slice of the game that somebody was running around playing? No. That's where I can see the debate on that one. So definitely there was some highs, there was some lows. I just don't think yet again that it was a total dumpster fire. Like I'm never going to try to go into the belief that Microsoft doesn't know what they're doing at all. But definitely they do have some learning to do for sure.
I mean, it was a disaster in my opinion. I mean, it was so bad that even an exec came out, a couple execs actually came out and basically apologized how bad it was. That's what they did. If you think about it, they had no other big games out there other than Assassin's Creed. And I understand what you're saying, Centurion, about, getting some of the smaller developers some light. But again, on some of these marketing deals that they made, no Cyberpunk, no Elder Ring. There was no key third party developers, that came out, some big names.
See, and that's the argument that was made to me was, would you be talking about any of these smaller developers if they showed anything from Cyberpunk or Elden Ring?
Yeah. I mean, it just depends. I mean, did they show gameplay? They only showed gameplay for a couple of those things. The other ones were just cutscenes. So a lot can be, it's just how you present it. Like for example, back in I forgot what year anyway. Jesus, I can't even remember what year it came out in. But We Happy Few, was an indie title that came out and took people way by surprise. It was the talk of the Xbox conference at that point at one time. So I mean, it just depends how you show off the game. So, and I thought even the smaller titles were shown in a bad way with no real gameplay shown on some of these titles, but there were no surprises. I think that was the biggest thing. And even the production of the Inside Xbox just seemed dull. It just seemed like low budget. They didn't care. They just threw it out there. There was no interviews. There was no excitement. And they just threw it out. And they got hammered for it on social media and in media the likes.
I think the main reason they got hammered was just because and Aaron Greenberg said it himself, if they hadn't said anything, it's probably wouldn't be even that big of a issue. But they came out and kind of hyped it up to be like, oh, because people thought you were going to see Assassin's Creed gameplay there, like, and what the power of the Xbox Series X could do with some of these big budget third-party games, and we didn't see any of that. Had they not said any of that, then, and they just put it out there, like, oh, hey, we just put this thing out here inside Xbox, and like a Nintendo Direct.
You know what I would
be
if I was Xbox in the future, what I would do just to kind of limit hype is just say, hey, in this episode of Inside Xbox, we're gonna feature games, like Techland, for example. Just name the developers and some of the publishers that are making these games, so that way there's excitement or not when you release those names. Just I don't know.
I do agree that the structure of how they did it wasn't ideal, to say the least. But I mean, in my opinion, it wasn't a disaster at all. The apologies from like Xbox heads, like Xbox marketing head Aaron Greenberg, for example, he did apologize for the event, and at least they agree with us about how we feel. That there was a general like disappointment when it came to like how it was structured and certain things. So they get it. They are listening. It's not like they're completely deaf to that fact.
And don't get me wrong, I am looking forward to a couple of these games on here. A few of those games actually. But at the same time, I just think it was a missed opportunity.
I agree.
I did find it interesting about Yakuza, how it has not been announced for PS5. It's already on PS. Yeah. I think it's already on PS4 right now in Japan, and it's on Series. It's announced for Series X and Xbox One. But you go on there and you can't find any PS5 label on their website for that Yakuza game. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing there's a few Japanese games on there. Seeing Yakuza there was definitely a surprise. Even if it was just a cinematic, I liked what I saw. It looked pretty fun, looked pretty cool. Did any of you check out that Bandai Namco game? The name's eluding me right now. Nexus something.
Yeah, that was one of the games that interests me. So yeah.
Yeah, now that everyone was assuming that was some kind of an exclusive, but no, unfortunately, it's going to the PS5 as well, from what I could tell. But it does look pretty cool. Like, and it is smart delivery.
It looks like in line with the traditional Bandai Namco game, God Eater, Code Vein, those types of games. Same exact concept.
Now, somebody had touched on Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and they were supposed to show some in-engine gameplay, but they only showed like just little little snips of gameplay, if that. And
that was bad. That was just bad.
I have to admit, that was, they were teasing that. It sounded like they were going to show a little more on that. So
had they just shown gameplay of that, it would have saved the whole thing.
Yeah, well, everybody was like,
I don't think that was
that's
shown
what people
right.
came there for.
Yeah, I would agree, Shock.
Like a lot of people were upset about that, and I agree. But that's on Ubisoft, though.
Well, they definitely missed the mark. Well, I don't know, because Microsoft kind of like, if this was like, there's no way this show was done live. This was all stuff that was built. I mean,
well, no.
Yeah, there's no way this show was done live. So they got to see Ubi. This is where I'll definitely say I could see. I'm trying to kind of like be on the middle and actually say Microsoft did good, but there is also room for improvement. Ubisoft submitted that video before that show was ever put out. So Microsoft knew what was in that, and they could have asked for some corrections. In my opinion, one of the corrections I would have asked would be for there to be a little bit more gameplay, and for it to highlight, regretfully, this is probably why they didn't want to highlight it, but the dismemberment when it comes to combat in the game. Like, we all know, everybody here has played Origins and Odyssey, right?
Yeah, I have.
Nobody had. So has anybody here played Origins or Odyssey? How about that?
No.
Yes.
I briefly started Odyssey, not enough.
I played them both.
So there's no dismemberment in the games and the combat. Now in Valhalla, it's actually talked about how the game. They got a lot of criticism for how big Odyssey was, From what I'm hearing, they're actually scaling down the size of the map, and they're putting a lot more emphasis into the actual look and feel of the game, and that's where the dismemberment comes in. When you combat, you can now do decapitation, cut off an arm, stuff like that. But this is where it gets interesting. That dismemberment is going to probably more than likely only be exclusive to the Series X build of the game, or the PS5 build of the game, because the hardware can create that. From what I've heard, one of the reasons why it did not make it into Origins or Odyssey was because none of the current gen hardware could do the dismemberment. And we all remember what happened. Huh?
So it can do it. It's just a matter of the physics overloading the CPU. And
But this is where we have seen in the past from the 360 PS3 generation to the Xbox One PS4 generation with God, what was it? Not Shadow of War, Shadows of Mordor, Lord of the Rings, Shadows of Mordor.
Yes.
The Nemesis program. The Nemesis program that created the personalities of the orcs, basically the heart and soul of the game, was only in the Xbox One PS4 versions of the game because that was the only hardware that could actually use it. Apparently it was not in the Xbox 360 PS3 versions, and they said it was like a night and day difference on how the orcs acted. And so we're going to definitely see this in the future here with these new consoles, is there's going to be features in these games that aren't going to be on the current gen. I mean, what's now current gen?
Fallout 3 did it on the 360. You could blow off people's heads and faces,
that's at a distance. That's at a distance, and now also it was very rude.
Close, I don't know.
I'm just.
I blew people's face off at point blank with that VAT system. Watched their head explode and their eyeballs.
No, you're right. But let's also look at there's a lot of bugs with that engine that's used, and definitely whatever engine Ubisoft is using for the Assassin's Creed games now, I don't know which one it is. Forgive me. There's definitely a lot of polish in these games, and there's no way they would want a buggy heaping mess going on in their game just to get dismemberment. And so that's where I'm really confident in them saying that they've kind of like done things in the game to really help make the game have more of a feel to it than trying to just create this massive sandbox experience that's overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's one of those things where I actually really enjoyed the Nemesis system in Shadow of War. I thought it was really, really well done. Really, like, kind of, it's just unique, right, with the AI and how it remembers you and whatnot. You know,
dude, I love it.
Very memorable.
And then as you kill them multiple times, they start showing up with bags on their head because they're just so jacked up.
Well, it's just they shit talk you. I like how they shit talk you and they remember you, especially if they beat you before. So
that too.
But
not to go too far off there, but just on that Shin Megami Tensei, when you actually, it's kind of like you catch demons, like catch Pokemon, and you barter with the demons after you get them low enough. You want to join my team, or do you want me to just kill you? And they'll shit talk you in the game and negotiate with you to join your part of your team. So that part's kind of cool. And that just off tangent.
Now,
shout out to EA for being probably your next go-to.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe that's later. We'll touch on that later.
Oh, we will definitely touch on EA later. I know a few people in the chat right before the show started were definitely having some minced words about EA and their policies.
I know. I'm like, we're all over up here on the production value of an inside Xbox during a stay-at-home order, but the whole EA thing is totally soaring under the radar for the most part.
Yeah, we'll touch on that in a little bit. But going through this topic a little more, we had touched on like confusion over certain game exclusivity. Did they get the messaging wrong on that? Because we just assumed that it was going to be, just a simple third-party event, nothing really first like funded by Microsoft or no real exclusives. But then after the event, everyone's saying, "Oh, well, this one is only going to be on the Series X, Microsoft exclusive, console exclusive." I think they could have highlighted that a lot better. You know, it got people a little more talkative and jacked up about it.
I agree totally.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at the list of games that we have here. I have the list right in front of me right now. Let's see, Call of the Sea. That looked like a pretty interesting title. It's a first-person puzzle adventure game, and the story looks pretty cool. It's set in the 1930s. That is apparently a console exclusive, and it has the smart delivery. What else do we got here? Scorn, the first-person horror game set inside like I don't know how to describe it, just like really hideous kind of a decaying universe.
I think kind of based off that one guy's artwork that kind of started the whole Alien franchise.
Oh, like H.R. Geiger?
Yeah, I think
when I first saw that, I was like, dude, are they making a game about Alien?
Reminds me of Species, that movie.
Oh, yeah, Species. Yeah, but that was what, with Natasha Henstridge, I believe her name was?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
Man, she was hot. But yeah, no, that was actually a pretty, like, everybody was confused when they saw that game, and then they're like, oh wow, Microsoft has this game as exclusive. Damn. And like people are just really curious about that. And there's more titles too.
That's another Series X exclusive.
Yeah,
on Xbox One.
Yeah, exactly. This one, people are not too sure on. Second Extinction. Centurion, I know you're looking forward to this. It kind of caught your eye. It's like a it's a 3-person co-op shooter, and you have to basically fight dinosaurs, and it looks pretty cool, actually.
I don't know why. You guys know I have 2 really good friends I play on the regular with, and we just enjoy time wasters like that. Like, man, we play Plants versus Zombies, all sorts of crazy multiplayer games just to kind of like hang out and just shoot the shit for a while. That's what I love about those games, and that's why Extinction totally looks right up my alley. That whole horde mode, co-op, and it looks like a very interesting what's the word I'm looking for? A concept when it comes to the world that it's in.
Definitely. And it's made by Avalanche, the Just Cause studio. So
see now, but I didn't. Now Avalanche just did. Oh my god,
Rage.
No, didn't they just do? It was a game called. God, it was like you were like fighting robots. It was like the only thing in there. See, Generation Z or whatever.
Oh, Generation Zero.
Generation Zero. There we go. Yes. That wasn't that done by Avalanche?
I don't think so. I'd have to do a quick look up, but I'm pretty confident they didn't, but I'll have to take a look. But either way, I mean, it's interesting them getting, again, I'm not 100% sure, but I didn't see any other platform listed. So if they got that Second Extinction, that is quite interesting. Another smart delivery title. And then moving on here down the list, they have The Ascent, which is a cyberpunk themed RPG shooter, which
reminds me of Prey, like that. What Prey 2 should have been, other than being a top-down shooter, just like the aesthetic. It kind of looks like some of those early screenshots.
Yeah, well, it looked like an XCOM / cyberpunk kind of game. It really caught my eye. It was both like cinematic and gameplay.
Like Ruiner, yeah, like a twin stick shooter. Yeah.
There's no release date on that, but apparently that's another one that just kind of got flown under the radar about console exclusivity and smart delivery system as well. And of course we were just touching on The Medium by Bloober Team, the studio behind Blair Witch and Layers of Fear. So they're well adept at making these horror titles, and this one just kind of came out of nowhere, and it's another spooky kind of a horror game. Xbox snapping up these exclusives, and it's another Xbox Series X exclusive. Is anybody interested in this one?
Oh, definitely looking forward to just sitting at home and playing some of these games and sitting next to my wife and just getting creeped out.
Mm-hmm. Now, everybody in the chat, what are you guys looking forward to out of what was announced? As for like any game can go, because I'm definitely looking forward to the Medium and the Ascent as far as all these games listed off, and definitely curious about Scorn. Sorry, Shock, go ahead.
Oh no, you were good.
Can I
Were
throw
you
one
asking
out?
me a question?
I guess you can
Okay.
throw one out, Centurion.
Bright Memory Infinite.
Yes.
That the very pretty much first game. I mean, that game right there. I'm sorry, it's guns, swords, samurais. I'm sold.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought that you meant.
Well,
Never mind.
what's amazing about that game, I think it's on PC. It's been out for like a year or so, if I'm not mistaken, but it was made by one guy, from what people are telling me.
Wow.
Originally, like a lot of it, but like obviously there's more
Mm-hmm.
people there now. But apparently, this is supposed to be maybe a newer version or like I don't know, more packaged DLC. Like
You see,
there's more content than what's on the PC one.
I thought we were just seeing in-game, a CGI trailer, but apparently it was all in-game with ray tracing. Like that is right off the bat, that's what caught everybody's eyes. Like, wow, this is blowing our minds. And then like slowly, like the conference just kept like kind of getting dragged up. But it was really impressive just to start off the show with Bright Memory Infinite. But yeah, no, lots of interesting titles showing off here. Guys, do you think that they need to like rethink the style of these shows? I know we touched on it a bit earlier, but do they need to go with something along the lines of just to keep it more uniform and interesting and consistent? Maybe something along the lines of a Nintendo Direct or a PS State of Play?
Well, yeah, the production value definitely needs to get better in a lot of these. I think you're going to see it, moving forward with all the hoopla surrounding it. I mean, people didn't take it rather well on social media or, like I said, the media, but I think it's going to get better.
All right. Yeah, I think it will too. We'll touch on like their future events in a little bit, but I realize that it's easy to dismiss a lot of the CGI trailers. It's not gameplay, but there were a lot of new IP announced, and that's a lot of good stuff to look forward to. I mean, I'm being really positive with this event. I mean, yes, we can knock them for a few things, but really, I went into this event with low expectations. Sure, I would have liked to have seen Cyberpunk or Elden Ring, a nice like big surprise there. But I thought we got some nice surprises in it, to be honest. But yeah, anybody else have anything to add to this before we move on?
No.
All right. Sounds good, guys. Let's see in the chat. Yeah, we got a lot of people looking forward to the Medium. Yeah, I would say in Scorn, Call of the Sea. Yeah, guys, they all looked pretty cool. Scorn does look really scary, definitely. Okay, guys, on to our next topic, and it's an extension of what we were just covering. Now, a few days ago, before the third-party event, Xbox 2020 was officially announced, and it was detailed to be information rollouts over May, obviously the event we just had, June, and July. Now, the June event is supposed to be dedicated to, and I quote, Xbox platforms and services. Interesting terminology there, to say the least. Now, Jeremy, I want to get your opinion here first. Do you think we'll finally see the unveiling of the rumored Lockhart console at this event stream? Because there seems to be some specific language here being used. It's not necessarily it's not yelling games to me.
Right. I think they do need to unveil Lockhart if it even exists in the June episode. So this includes the price point for Lockhart. I personally believe in doing so, it's going to smoke out exactly what Sony is up to, and they're going to have no choice but to show a lot of its cards. Because on one hand, you have the Series X, and then you have, the Lockhart console, which is rumored. The reason why it's so important to put on a great show every one of these episodes, just moving forward, it gets the brand there. It gets people excited for the brand, and that's my whole issue is to keep the momentum they have going because, in my opinion, Xbox has all the momentum. There is tremendous pressure on Xbox to deliver. The May 7th format is just not going to get it done. The X 2020 needs to be larger in production value. So especially in the July installment, when hopefully we get these first party games, they can still do something special for the fans and viewers via streaming, and just finding new ways for like the fans to be engaged, whether it's maybe some hashtag polls or winning prizes or something like that. They can get fans involved, get fans excited, and making them feel like they're at the center of everything, and which includes their content. So at the same time, they can capitalize on its growing Xbox subscription library. I think the services by revealing future plans is important. So I think for sure it's going to get unveiled.
Absolutely. And there was over the last day or so, we've been hearing different things about price being speculated. There's different industry analysts talking about even just the Series X. Oh, Microsoft will undercut. Maybe that's if Lockhart does get unveiled, which I think it will be. I mean, that's basically what it's going to be. It's going to be an undercut to price for the PlayStation, right? So, and Aaron Greenberg, Xbox head of marketing, did state recently that this show will be done differently than an Inside Xbox show. So we should expect a different format and just different things to look forward to, really.
Yeah, and I'm not sure exactly when the May show was planned or how it took shape. I just think overall they need to do a better job with the messaging, because I guarantee you, if we're waiting till June and they have another strikeout come in June, July is not going to be very pleasant for them if they miss. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Now, yeah, moving forward, like we have to remember, like I think they really need to hit it out of the park with this one because over the past couple of days, there is a rumor going around that PlayStation is going to be having an early June event. So, I mean, it is going to happen regardless, right? They are going to be showing something sometime soon. They have to, right?
Yeah. Yep. But I think with Lockhart being unveiled in possibly June, a lot could happen within those 2 months with whether it's Sony unveiling the price point, or them having to respond to the Lockhart rumors once it's solidified in stone.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Do you think they'll focus on, you had touched on this a bit, but just to expand on it more, do you think they'll focus on like service growth, projects, xCloud streaming, and like more Game Pass news with this?
So they'll mention it, but they'll mention it because there's already news on it. There's no sense in beating a dead horse with a stick. So I think they're going to focus exclusively on how what the future holds for xCloud and some of their other services, especially Game Pass. So what if they come out and say, Game Pass is going to launch with 100 more games? I'm just giving an example. And then we have some exclusive developers working. I'm just giving an example, but exclusive developers working on for Game Pass. Those in the lines of that.
Definitely, I can see that. Centurion, do you have any takes on this? Do you think that we'll be seeing the Lockhart possibly be shown? Because, it's been rumored for a while, and now you're having more art gaming news outlets that are, like, let's say Windows Central, basically hinting that, we probably will see this coming out. What's your take?
I really don't know, if you want me to be honest. I hear a lot of people that I would honestly take them at their word that the Lockhart exists. There is people on Windows Central. There's people here in the community that, when they speak, I listen, and they say there's a Lockhart. And gosh, it's just so hard when you don't know if this thing really truly exists or not. It would be great if it was revealed, but then at the same time, I don't know why, but for some reason people embrace Microsoft having two consoles differently than the other guys, or when it comes to other things. Apparently it creates confusion of some sorts. That's where I'm just like, if they do reveal the Lockhart, I hope they do it in a way that kind of helps people, I guess, not feel that way. It will be interesting though, because it's definitely going to give some real competition. It's good to see Microsoft wanting to be aggressive if the Lockhart does exist. I just really don't know though, if you want me to be truly 100% honest, because I've heard the word Lockhart thrown around so many times. Like, come on, I remember when this whole Series X thing started. It was the Project Anaconda, whatever, or there was the Anaconda, there was the Maverick, the Lockhart, the Scarlet. There has been so many names thrown around. So it would, for me, if they reveal the Lockhart, it'll be like, finally, we know what Microsoft's doing. We can stop throwing around all these code words and other craziness that has come out of it.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you. I mean, we brought it up on the show, quite a bit about the Lockhart, but it is an interesting scenario where you have potentially Microsoft, from the looks of it, coming out with two consoles. Who knows how they're going to stagger them release wise. And then you got Sony. Like, Sony hasn't revealed their a console officially just yet, but Microsoft is possibly going to be unveiling a second one. It's just kind of funny. That's all I'm saying.
See, for me, I'm in the crowd where I am definitely sitting on the edge of my seat, waiting for that price to be revealed, so that way I can finally start planning how to afford some of these consoles.
Absolutely. Now, Shock, do you have a take on this? Do you think that Microsoft needs to, or Xbox in general, just needs to have a different take with this, and definitely go into the June event knowing that their May one just, it kind of fizzled, unfortunately?
Yeah, and I think they'll definitely, and that's probably why they're going for July, since they probably are assuming that Sony would at least announce something in June, whether or not they announce the price or what have you. And I think this was just like a small snippet of what they have to announce. I'm sure they have a lot more news, especially if Lockhart exists, to kind of and like they said, they have stuff going like at least every month leading up. So they'll probably have some other type of news in June, as well as probably a big July event. So I mean, I'm sure they have so much to easily announce. They could just sprinkle like little by little if they feel they need something to bounce back from this. Maybe late in May or something.
Well, the thing is, again, I did like a lot of what was shown in the May show, although I can take criticisms at Microsoft for how they did things, or what they did and didn't say during it. But so they did give like the ball in Sony's and PlayStation's court here, just because they kind of fizzled on the event, and now it's basically expected that Sony will have some kind of event within the next month's time. So I mean, Sony does kind of have a everyone's looking to Sony right now.
Can I throw something out there?
No, you may not. Yes, of course.
Well, it does involve putting on a tinfoil hat. So what if Microsoft deliberately threw a crappy show? Like, what if they
No,
deliver?
come on.
No, I don't
No.
believe that.
Like, I'm just saying,
No.
it is like right now. Everybody says all these companies march to the drum of their own beat. Come on, they're circling around this massive elephant in the room called the price tag, and the reveal of the PS5 and the potential reveal of the Lockhart. This is a very big game of chess that depends on the.
Why would you want a month or 2 months of just bad publicity?
Who says it was a month? No, I'm just saying who said maybe Microsoft didn't expect the negativity would be so bad, but maybe they threw a very lackluster show to kind of give PlayStation that confidence to come out and try to knock it out the park and throw an awesome show and throw their cards on the table, so that way Microsoft can finally roll out what they've been wanting to kind of fully do. Because I'm pretty sure Microsoft themselves have been a little kind of like amazed at how very little PlayStation has revealed. And it's hard to kind of be fully aggressive when you really don't know what the other guy is doing. At this point, you're just posturing.
I think you're right. I do need that tinfoil hat.
I guess that is just to throw it out.
Half right, at least. Like, maybe they are just throwing out these like small things to try to like get them out there, like, you know, putting Xbox Series X news little by
because
little.
there has to be a strategy to their business
PS5.
plan. There has to be a strategy to their business plan, because come on, Sony.
I'm not saying they do a bad show. That they just messed up. They probably didn't mean to do what they did, but to at least put out a show, I think that was their plan. To just like, hey, eventually you're gonna have to. It's gonna put more and more pressure on them. Like, hey, we're seeing more games. From
Yeah,
Xbox.
now you do
we don't even know what the PS5 looks like.
But you do a small show, giving people what they want, new IP, a little bit of look at next gen. It's just enough bait to get the other side to come out, because you know when PlayStation does a show, it's going to be like AAA here, first party there. You know, it's going to be like banger, banger, banger. That's basically how PlayStation is. They're going to come out and basically pretty much try to blow everybody out of the water and be the event of this 4 months of gaming. And honestly, that's why I really do believe Microsoft is probably holding just a little bit back, because why would you want to do that when you know your Sony is supposedly crouching down and laying wait for the right time to pounce?
Well, remember, like, they're going to be showing off, they're saving Halo Infinite supposedly for July, along with, I think Microsoft announced Double Fine's going to be showing off something, Obsidian.
And that's because that's probably Microsoft has decided in their own mind that if Sony has not shown anything by July, at this point, they are going to have to basically go to probably what is plan C. And that is marching to the drum of their own beat. And they just do things the way they feel they should be done, because you know, if they came out, well, we want to undercut the PlayStation. How do you undercut the PlayStation if you don't know their price? That's where I think July is the longest that Microsoft is willing to wait to hear anything from PlayStation. And if they haven't heard anything by July, that's when they're just going to start putting stuff out there, because they have to continue on with their business and they can't have it all ride on PlayStation revealing something.
If we don't hear anything from Sony till July, some of the Bloomberg news that came out, some of these rumors that you've heard, there's a lot of truth to it, because there's no way you go all these months, which would be, at that point, it'd be 7 months, and not hear something for them to, for there to be something wrong.
Yeah.
See, that's where I feel like there's a small strategy to what Xbox is doing. I feel like rolling out executing that strategy was not done well at all, as we can all see by the show that was put out. Downer's completely right. I did at the end of that show go, there's going to be a lot of people not happy. I knew that at the end of that show. And but that's where I do see Microsoft was trying to probably keep it small in a sense, because they always do have in the back of their mind that their competition, PlayStation, is going to come out of the gate swinging when they decide to come out.
I don't know. There's no way I can't see Sony missing June. I mean, we'll see. Obviously, we'll probably get an announcement soon if that's the case. But it is very telling, though. We don't really know very much about this console of theirs at all. We've only seen a controller.
Well, if the Bloomberg stuff is correct, we're at a stalemate at this point. Xbox wants to compete with PlayStation, so they want PlayStation to reveal their price first. PlayStation wants Xbox to reveal their price first, so that way they can decide whether or not they're able to either break even or take a loss on the console. I feel like both companies are literally at an impasse on what to do next, because neither one wants to reveal their price first. And it seems like if you go off that theory, both those strategies depend on the other guy revealing their price first.
Pretty much. Well, we'll have to wait and see for all these. We'll probably get more information in the next week or so regarding the Microsoft June event. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see when Sony announces their event. Obviously, they're gonna have something. I'm looking forward to seeing what they have. It's very curious to see. Just what we'll see from it. It's a fun time speculating about all this stuff. But hey, everyone, we are gonna move on to some other news, and I'm sure a lot of you already know about the Xbox Series X. It will feature the smart delivery system. We talked a lot about it recently. If you buy an Xbox One game that supports the feature, you'll get an enhanced next-gen version for free. However, with EA games, there may be a catch. Now, Madden NFL 21 was featured in the recent Xbox Series X gameplay event and stated there would be free upgrades. However, in a press release, EA stated that they would only offer upgrades for a limited time, and I quote, "To receive the offer, players must purchase Madden NFL 21 on Xbox One by December 31st, 2020, and upgrade to the Xbox Series X by March 31st, 2021. So about, 4 months gap there. It's not really a lot of time. Now, Centurion, I'm going to pick on your brain on this one first. Does what EA is doing here seem, a little less friendly than Xbox's plan?
Well, just to put it out there, Invader, when you sent these topics out and I read that, I actually had to click the link and read the article because I was floored when I read that topic. I was just like, oh my God, EA cannot get out of the way of the almighty, we got to make money by any means necessary. I was completely floored. And then when you read it off, I still have the same thought. The only way that deal kind of works is, I guess, if you buy it digitally. Because how do they know when you bought that game for like upgrading it to the Series X? Like that, because there's like a window there. That's why I'm kind of curious, because there's like a 4-month window there. What if you bought the game, before December 31st, but you didn't buy the Series X until March of, we'll say February of the next year? How do you kind of like sort the logistics of that out? It seems very convoluted and shady. And EA, once again, is trying to figure out ways to nickel and dime rather than create software that is just groundbreaking that everybody wants to spend their money on. They just try to find ways to force you to spend your money if, you upgrade to these next consoles. Like, I'm kind of like mind blown.
Listen, I understand why they said what they said. And I would agree with you, Centurion, that it is nickeling and diming people, but it makes no sense with their game plan behind it. Because if you think about it, you have to buy within a certain window. It's automatically turning people off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like a lose-lose situation.
And there's also supposed to be shortages of these consoles too. So
right. So why do that in the first place? Why it just doesn't make sense. I understand why they did what they did, but it doesn't make sense. It's almost like they're oblivious to um I don't know. It's just crazy to me.
The only way you could come
It's
up with
not
this
like they're
is
giving away free stuff. Like
Exactly.
you already bought it for $60, right?
Right.
And it's the most copy and paste game they have. Like they barely do any improvement or really spend anything to really overhaul it. And then you still won't just give a free upgrade. By that point, if someone wanted to upgrade the game, because what was the deadline? March
Yes.
football's over.
Yeah.
Like, you can't give me a free upgrade when the season's over and like no one's buying Madden, or Madden is discounted to like $10 or $20 by that point.
Yeah. It just doesn't make sense at all. Like at all.
Absolutely. Now, no, go ahead, Centurion. Go right ahead.
I was just gonna say, what are they gonna do to justify? Like, what are they gonna do that's gonna be so groundbreaking to where it's gonna be like, you need the Series X version of this game over the Xbox One version? Like, I'm just like, what is gonna be so groundbreaking that it's even gonna drive that? And it like, I'm with Downer. It makes no sense. Like, it's like they are totally out of touch with what people are saying, what other businesses are trying to do.
Right. But if they came out and said, look, if you buy the game in September, we're going to give you a free upgrade. That in itself is marketing for them, where they can go out and have people buy their game just based off that. Now with them saying, it just doesn't make sense. It's like it contradicts what this press release says. It's weird.
Oh, absolutely. I just find it funny that Xbox's smart delivery system, there's no strings attached to it. There's no little small print. It's just it does what it says. Whereas with EA, like there's like it's crap. It's like it's a shittier version of it. Why would anybody support this?
It's crazy.
It is crazy. But another question I have for this is, I'll ask the panel, do you guys think that this will only be for like yearly titles such as the Madden sports games, or do you think that it will affect other titles as well?
Well, it's going to be everything released up until the Series X comes out.
Right, yeah. But
just EA in general will probably be dumb and do this for all. Why do it for the one that really isn't costing you much to do it on? If you're going to do it on that, then probably going to do it on that.
So any release this year or the year before that, they decide to upgrade it for, it just depends.
Definitely. So. It's just EA in all these years, EA is known as one of the worst companies, not just gaming company, but one of the worst companies. Well,
it's like they're digging their own grave. And how does Andrew still have a job? I still don't understand. Like, this guy has been shit on for like at least 3 years, and he still has a job.
And remember, it's not like they've been doing good things. You look at what they've done with Battlefield. You look at what they've done with other franchises. I mean, they're taking hits left and right because of just poor quality and just poor decisions overall. And like, something like this, it really enforces the whole, like, EA is more interested just in profit than being like pro-consumer, obviously.
In the States, I see them, they're not as, how can I say it? Well, okay, overseas, nobody pays attention to, all the hoopla on Twitter, all the press releases and stuff like that, unless you're a hard gamer. Now, the average person that buys a FIFA title every year or Madden title that spends thousands and thousands of dollars on FIFA cards, or, some of these microtransactions that FIFA and Madden offer, and their FIFA series is a cash cow in that regards. They're making a lot of money off that. Maybe EA just doesn't care. Maybe they're just saying, we're making all this. Maybe they just don't care. And, that's how it goes. Because nobody, I don't know. It's bizarre.
Yeah, it's weird that they want to pull this move. I mean, you would have thought that when they were at this event and they were highlighting, showing gameplay for the next Madden, that it would just be more of a transparent thing. But then you come out with this press release and then everybody's pissed off. I mean, did they not think that this would upset people? Like, it's very weird how they're going about this.
I'm also shocked in the fact that wasn't EA working closely with Microsoft on some things?
Apparently, I mean,
like,
No, they always have they
marketing,
always have some sort of marketing rights with them, whether it's Battlefield or Madden. Almost every year
they had the guy from EA standing there with like the Game Pass guys at the XO event.
Yeah,
I was just wanting to point that out
used
because
to-
I'm just surprised that the EA would do this, working that closely with Microsoft and knowing the direction they're wanting to go.
Well, I mean, EA can do whatever they feel that's best for their business. I think if they think this is the best route, then that's the way. But like I said, it just doesn't make sense what they're doing at all. Like not even a little bit.
It's funny that you heard that earnings call where this was kind of leaked that EA was going to do smart delivery in a sense for Xbox and PlayStation, and people were saying, "Oh, PlayStation's going to have smart delivery too," which it looks like that's not the case, or at least like this isn't the case, and still, we're still waiting to see if they're going to do that. Everybody's saying, "Hey, well, they did it already," or because they have cross buy. It's just cross buy. I'm like, no, cross buy was when you bought the same game at the same time and you got the same port of the game on your Vita, your PS3, and your PS4. It wasn't like, hey, we're giving you The Last of Us remastered because you bought it on the PS3. Sony didn't even do that for any of their first party games. Plus, it's definitely not any triple.
There was another. Yeah, there was another article that came out on March 4th. I believe it was from the same place where it said delivery may let you custom install games, meaning Microsoft's next gen Xbox Series X could have a console wide custom installation feature that significantly reduces overall game sizes. So I don't know if you guys picked up on that, but yeah, that'd be interesting. So, for example, Modern Warfare, you guys know some of these Call of Duty games are just getting very hefty with their, I think it clocks in at over like 100 gigabytes, the whole package.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, they're pretty hefty.
So if you can carve up some of that installation and only download what you're actually going to play, whether it's multiplayer or single player, if it comes with both games, both options, it's just going to be another added feature on that. So maybe it could cut down, kind of like what they did with Crackdown. I know Crackdown seems like it's two different games with the multiplayer side and then the single player side. But if you can have it just where you can access a certain single player area or only half the game, and then you can download the other half later, to cut down on some of these times. It'll just it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we are seeing bloated storage drives, obviously. Games they're packed with so much right now. You look at, you mentioned Call of Duty. Look at Modern Warfare. I think it's clocking in now because of all the updates, something like, I want to say I saw an article that was clocking near or at like 200 gigs. Like, that is pretty insane. Like,
I think, we'll see exactly when Halo comes out, because I think it's just going to be a massive game, when it comes out, that, a lot of the gigabytes that get taken up are due to like voiceover work or video or something like that. That takes up the most memory as far as that goes. But it just depends how large your game is.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, all that stuff is very interesting. I'm curious to see, like, the Series X is going to have a 1 terabyte SSD, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
Expandable storage is going to be key. So, yeah, I really want to see how they're going to be working their magic as far as storage and selecting what you can,
Yeah.
selectively choose what. Yeah.
And I think the custom installation was found. It's going to be found in like the Master Chief Collection on PC. The game will let you choose which portion of each of the game you want to install. So for instance, um, PvP, um, the campaign or firefight, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Definitely. All right. All right, guys, we're going to transition into, well, some other industry news, and developer Techland shot down a few rumors making the rounds as of late. One being that Microsoft was going to be acquire them. Apparently, that's not true, according to somebody in the PR there, and also that that there's rumors of the studio being in turmoil because originally a report came out a few days ago citing that there was all kinds of development troubles, and that the studio is just in general disarray. Now, Shock, buddy, I'm going to start with you on this one. Should we believe the PR statements being provided by Techland? Because this game, I mean, initially, like, it was supposed to come out in the spring, but it got delayed indefinitely, kind of similar to how The Last of Us 2 was, and a little bit of difference there. But this game was announced back in 2018 at E3 at Microsoft's conference. So should we believe what Techland's telling us here, or I don't know? Do you think that there's maybe a little bit of a PR cover up going on?
There might be some cover up going on, but I would say this: Dying Light 2 has been in development since the first game. Shortly after the expansions, so it's bizarre that they didn't upgrade it for the X when it came out. That was a head scratcher.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there is some truth to that because why wouldn't you upgrade or enhance one of your more popular games that are that's on Xbox, one that's been purchased by millions and millions of people? Why wouldn't you upgrade it and enhance it for the X? It's just maybe they're just too busy working on Dying Light 2, which it's just bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these topics are just bizarre.
Well, there's a lot of
Yeah.
bizarre topics in just gaming industry altogether these days.
Gaming is in a bizarre industry in itself.
Yep.
No, absolutely. But I mean, Dying Light, it's one of these titles that, I mean, it's a very successful title. A lot of people, it caught a lot of people's attention. Very successful new IP, and it's Dying Light 2 has really been dragging its heels. They have as a writer, a former Obsidian developer, Chris Avallone, on there doing the story, and they're doing some cool
So,
things with the game.
so a lot of times when some of these things release or leak or something like that, and PR goes in and says, "Oh no, everything's fine." They're really appealing to their their stakeholders and stockholders. Just because, for example, I believe in that link that you sent, Ola. I can't pronounce her name, but I think she's the PR person
That's correct. Yes.
acquired by another publisher. We're still an independent studio, and we're delivering Dying Light 2 on PC, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4. So her saying that, and this was as of May 6th, leads you to believe that the Dying Light 2 is coming out, pre-Series X, but I don't think that's the case. So I don't know. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, it's weird because Yeah, there was some really weird stuff going on with. Well, basically that. Yeah, there was a. In case you guys don't know, there was a rumor going around that there was a lack of communication going on between like different parts of the studio, which I mean, it can be a common thing. There was a lack of clear direction and uncertainty with just the way that they were approaching it. Apparently, they had gone back and forth with the game.
I want some people to realize exactly when you hear issues with developers and publishers. I want you to always refer back to some of your experiences with your employers and some of the dramas that, and drama that goes on there. And it's everywhere. I don't care where you work. I don't care where you've been. Everybody on this panel, everybody in chat, every single person, there's always been, I don't care where you've worked, there's always been rumors about people being unhappy and people that are disgruntled everywhere you go. So that's why it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect me what I think about Techland, and the same should go for everybody on this panel or everybody in chat. It shouldn't affect your opinion about a publisher or somebody, a developer that you like. Just take it with a grain of salt, and that's it.
Definitely. Yeah, just to go a little deeper into this, what the supposed issue are, it's like a conflict between the head writer and the game's creative director. Apparently, Avalon wanted to make a deep RPG experience, whereas the game director, he continually interfered with the narrative process. So there was different conflicts according to what the rumored turmoil was in the studio. And then on top of that, there was reports of what was it? There's crunch in the studio as well because they're working obviously really hard just to get things like up and running. And apparently they lost some people too, according to a lot of people leaving the studio, similar to what's been going on at Naughty Dog. But again, that's just general new reports. But the PR is shooting this down. I mean, obviously that's what the PR would do. They don't want to put out anything negative, like you said, with the shareholders. So that is true. Shock, I want to get your take on this. Obviously, Dying Light, the first one was a success. They wanted to create an ambitious follow-up, but I mean, they seem to lack the focus and everything that gets thrown out of whack. Sometimes that happens at a studio. Do you see this as like a potential BioWare situation a la Anthem from the way that it sounds?
I'd probably put it more towards like with Halo, where you kind of saw like their creative director leave, and people kind of that recent rumor that went around that it was rebooted, like in 2018, which was around that same time. But people think of rebooting like, oh, they totally scrapped it. Like, no, they keep probably most of the game, most of the assets, probably just steer the story or maybe part of the scope they were going for, maybe in a slightly different direction. So it could be something like that, or like you had Uncharted that lost Amy Hennig, their creative director, and they pushed it back and delayed it. So, and it came out great. So it could be something like that where they're just like their timeline's a little bit longer. That trajectory is longer output, since if they may have changed something, kind of like Halo did or Uncharted.
Yeah, some of these larger games, The Last of Us 2, Halo Infinite. The one Shock was talking about. There's a lot of pressure that's involved with a lot of these titles, and maybe somebody doesn't like the direction of either the story or the gameplay or just set pieces. Somebody doesn't like something, and somebody leaves because of it. There's always something. So I think maybe the same thing is happening to Techland. But I always say this at the end of the day, Techland is a proven developer, and they should be given the benefit of the doubt, just like Naughty Dog should be given the benefit of the doubt. Just like, to me, 343 does not deserve the benefit of the doubt because, they really haven't truly delivered on some of these titles, some of these Halo titles that came out. the same could be said about the coalition. What have you done for me lately? So I think Techland, someone like them, they deserve the benefit of the doubt. So, let's just wait until we either hear some news that is real, or wait until the game comes out. And that's what it boils down to.
Oh, absolutely. And as Mr. Kima says, Dying Light 2, I mean, it could be delayed to enhance it with ray tracing for the Xbox Series X. Yeah, I mean, that could always be a possibility. Again, we're just kind of shooting some ideas out here because, games get delayed. It is a common occurrence, but it's been very quiet on the Dying Light 2 front. And to be delayed indefinitely, well, it's kind of interesting. And Xbox does seem to have marketing ties to it, and with the whole rumors going around about acquisitions, I mean, the PR did come out pretty quickly just to dispel this rumor. I mean, for all you know, they could just be maybe there could be something brewing. You never know. Maybe they haven't finalized anything, but there could be something going on.
Well, sometimes you just hit a development bump. I mean, everybody's had one. Everybody's had one.
Absolutely.
So, just one of those things where maybe we should take it with a grain of salt. So,
yeah, I agree. We should take it with a grain of salt. It's just interesting whenever these things come up, and I know a lot of people are looking forward to Dying Light 2, and it's unfortunate that it has been delayed. But hey, you know what? I would rather have a polished game than, well, a buggy piece of crap, obviously. But all right, fellas, we will move on to, well, it'll be our last topic of the evening. And, well, it appears as if Nintendo is not the only platform with a controller lawsuit. Now, originally, I wanted to touch up on this last week, but we kind of went over time. But recently, a New York resident filed a lawsuit against Microsoft stating that they purchased 2 Xbox Elite controllers, and they both exhibited signs of drifting. Now, drifting, that's when movements are detected in the controller, but the controller sticks themselves are not moving. The claimant alleges that Microsoft is fully aware of the issue, but, and I quote, failed to disclose the defect and routinely refuses to repair the controllers without charge when the defect manifests. Now, anybody on the panel can hit up this one. Now, I personally really like Xbox's controllers overall. I'm usually pretty satisfied with them. However, I've often questioned the build quality of, for example, the Elite controllers. For example, I've had like the back is kind of peeling off in certain areas. I'm not too really pleased with that. But in this matter, is this something that Xbox needs to address, or is this overblown as an issue?
I really do not know. I'm talking with David Preen on how much testing there was done on the controllers. If this is definitely an issue that Microsoft is covering up, that's pretty major, but I didn't really get that impression from David Preen. He made it sound like they test the controllers pretty vigorously. Sometimes things go unplanned for, but it also comes like David Preen says, it also comes down to how you're using the controller. And sadly, there is a small portion of gamers out there that don't hold the controller the way most gamers do. And so when hardware developers don't plan for someone to hold the controller in that manner, things happen.
Now let's be clear here. This is not a widespread issue like Nintendo's. I mean, I've owned a bunch of Switches, a bunch of Joy-Cons, and I've had issues with every single one. And this is not the case to where it's a specific Xbox controller being the Elite. And I think it's a good time if there are issues and and Microsoft is aware of it. I think now is a good time for them to be transparent. We're going to go back to that one where, we're going to be more transparent, go moving forward, blah, blah, blah. It's now time for them to step up to the plate if there's an issue. Now, I'm not a legal expert, and I don't know exactly what their communication can be when there's a when there's a lawsuit, especially of this magnitude. But it'll be interesting to see whether or not they come out and talk about this.
Now, I should clarify that the lawsuit actually does go over all of the Xbox controllers, not just the Elite, but it's just one-sided was the just for example, like one guy had gotten a couple.
So it goes over all Xbox controllers. I can definitely say without hesitation that I've never had an issue with my Xbox controllers, and I've purchased a lot of Xbox controller. We're talking about at least up to 40 Xbox controllers I've purchased, and I've never and as much as I played, I've never had an issue with them. Despite that, the one issue I had with the Elite controller, too, with the trigger. But Nintendo, on the other hand, you've heard of all the nightmare stories regarding the Joy-Cons, and I've experienced drifting with every single Joy-Con controller I've ever had. So, I don't know.
Well, just from the chat alone, I mean, kind of mixed responses here. Alex said that he had problems with the Elite One series. Geeky Nerd here says he's more of a results guy than transparency guy, to be honest. Day one, what was it? NLG Gaming, was it? My day one controller, 2013 is shot at this point. Well, you probably put a lot of mileage on it. Fastback, he says, I do agree that the quality of controllers this gen seems to be worse than last. Well, maybe people are just gaming more, to be honest. I have
those 360 controllers. That was the rubber would run down pretty quick, and sometimes like peel right off. Like you go into GameStop, and a lot of the joysticks would be missing the rubber on top, or part of it.
Well, there could be like quite a few build issues there. As Jeremy noted, like Nintendo has had issues with this. They're definitely the console manufacturer with like the largest case, I would say, with issues with their controllers. They have their own class action lawsuit going on, and it's prompted Nintendo to begin actually repairing and replacing defective Joy-Cons for free of charge as of last year, I believe, with or without warranty.
They can't even get it right on their Switch lights. That's how bad it is. So I don't know if it's a manufacturing thing. I don't know if it's a development design issue from the get-go. Who knows? But it's bad. Like Nintendo's issue is really bad. It's not like one of these Xbox issues where it's one of these one-offs. I haven't heard of it since this article came out. I haven't heard of any issues regarding the Xbox controller other than the Elite One. So, yeah.
Right. Well, it does seem to be a larger issue than what I initially thought, but I'll be honest with you, I tried playing with the 360 controller, and I can't go back to it personally. I love the Xbox One controller, even just the regular one. But I have had a few issues with it personally. I've had a few things break off, just the regular ones. The Elite one, I love the Elite controller, but again, like the back is like all coming off. And I know I'm not the only one. I know UK Daz had some similar issues as well. I know there's going to be faulty products, but I would like to see, for like example, you spend a lot of money on these controllers, like $60-$70 on the regular ones. You got the Elite controllers. I know up here in Canada, they cost close to $200, if not more. Yeah. So, I mean, really, we do have to voice our concerns about this. I do love the product. It's just, you expect more reliability when you're forking over a larger chunk of cash. So I do understand these concerns. But yeah, Nintendo's had terrible controllers. That's for sure. Man, it is. I wonder if there's like if they have a similar Nintendo and Microsoft have similar manufacturers. To be honest, like getting the parts from. That would be my question.
It's possible, but I don't know.
Hmm.
Since everything's fucking made in China now, Jesus Christ.
Wow, tell us how you really feel.
No, everything's made in China. Everything. It's just getting to a point where it just makes me sick to my stomach.
Well, in my line of work, I can actually say that I get to deal with domestic manufacturers.
Nice.
Ooh, that's nice. That's a nice feeling. I mean, it would be nice. I mean, since you brought that up, Jeremy, just to touch on it, it would be nice if they did kind of, bring all that stuff back home.
Yeah, and you guys know the reason why everything's made in China, right? Centurion, you know.
Why not tell me?
It's because of labor costs.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, because we have a minimum wage here. We also, oh my God, I'm gonna get burned at the cross. We have ethics.
Yeah, we don't have slave labor children working for us.
But in defense of we have ethics. If we really had, I mean, the fact that we still support the fact that that's at least it's over there. No, I don't think we should be supporting that. I really do feel that we need to find better ways of manufacturing our goods all around the world, and definitely not under those conditions at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's yeah. I'm personally, I would like to see all that stuff come back. I mean, these companies like Microsoft, for example, they do get incentives from the U.S. For example, they invest in them, and they're not. You don't see the return back. So it would be nice for these jobs to come back home in a lot of ways. That's just my opinion.
Well, definitely this pandemic has definitely shown a lot of these companies that they can't have all their eggs in one basket or have all their manufacturing in one country. They definitely need to diversify and spread themselves out a little bit across the world, because when one factory goes down in China for the flu, you could have another factory here in America, Mexico, someplace else that's going to at least still kind of be turning out production. That way you wouldn't be taking as huge of a hit, considering all the production is over there.
Yeah, and I know it's off topic, but I'm going to get into something that's going to get me fired up. Yeah, but take beef for example. You want to know why you're paying more for beef now is because we're ordering all this beef from fucking Brazil and all these other countries that produce when we have more than enough food in the US to go around. The problem is that some of these cows that we get from the U.S. are expensive, and producing meat in the U.S. is a lot more expensive as it is to get from Brazil. So, yeah,
I thought it was interesting on the whole beef situation, considering I'm a big bird and fish fan.
Yeah. Oh, even the chickens. I mean, even the chickens are going up in price. So.
Yeah. I've always been used to chicken being freaking expensive.
Yeah, chicken in general is expensive.
I'm a pork guy myself.
Puerco.
Shockley, how about you? You haven't had your input, yeah? So chicken. What about you?
He's a
I would say
pussy.
chicken.
He's a vagina. I mean, he's a
what
fish kind of guy.
Sushi, yeah.
He's a sushi.
Sushi, oh yes, sushimi. Or
I don't know about sushi.
Or well, I'm a tempura guy. I like my tempura. So
I do too.
Anything deep fried is tasty, but not so good for you. But taste is more important.
You don't like that raw sushi?
I do. I do like it. It's just I prefer anything with a little bit of a little bit of crunch, a little bit of extra flavor. If you catch my drift, I like the tempura.
I've been on an ice cream binge the last 2 weeks. I've been eating ice cream nonstop every single day for at least 2 weeks. Just nonstop. Just been eating ice cream. Yeah,
My wife
it's
would be
that
rolling me
serious.
around the house about this time.
Ooh. Now you got me
Mm.
curious, Jeremy. What flavor? Anything in particular?
So I like, so I like pralines and cream, cookies and cream.
Ooh.
What else? So we have different brands of ice cream in Montana. There's a company called Umpqua, and their ice cream is excellent. So as far as like being the best, I'd say that's probably one of the best I've had. They make it's called a waffle cone fudge swirl, and it is so effing good. And they make probably the best cookie dough I've ever tasted in the world. And I don't even like cookie dough.
Yeah,
So,
I could go either way with the cookie dough personally.
yeah.
Guys, I wanted to touch on something. This wasn't in our topics, but it kind of came up today. Centuri and I were kind of talking about it before the show. Everybody knows Michael Pachter, the game industry analyst, and
Oh, let me
he's
grab my tinfoil hat.
yeah, well, it's an interesting thing that he said because he said this a few hours ago, that Microsoft could undercut Sony by as much as $100 with the price of its next gen console. Pachter echoed previous statements that the PS5 is likely to debut at around $500, meaning that if his prediction is correct, that the Xbox Series X could come in as low as $400. Now, personally, I mean, Michael Pachter is very hit or miss. I can't see it being that low. I mean, even
I could if they want to be really aggressive with it and have a larger market share in the world. You've seen what happens when Xbox One launched, when it was $100 more as opposed to Sony's machine, and what that does, and they can undercut that. We're talking, they can make that for, let's say, for example, they sell 35 million. I'm just giving an example, 35 million units, and they're losing $100 off that. I mean, just do the math on that. They can cover it up or make up those costs with,
Game Pass,
software, controllers, government contract.
well, yeah, I will say that. I mean, they do have. Well, I don't want to say extra income, but Game Pass, as you said, like they could be getting the extra, like that revenue to kind of supplement the cost from somewhere, somewhere like Xbox Live or Game Pass, since they're doing crazy numbers with Game Pass apparently. So they could subsidize it, I suppose, but it just that's a big that's a like $400 is a pretty.
So you got to take this in consideration though, because let's say it does launch at $400, think of the head start they can get, as opposed to $500 to top it off. Later on in a console cycle's life, the consoles are cheaper to make because the parts are cheaper. So maybe they can estimate, let's say they're waiting 6 months or to a year of losses on the system and waiting for some of these prices to drop as far as the parts go. Maybe they take that in consideration.
I'll say this, if it is 400 American, my God, that would send a shockwave. Like that would be huge.
See, that's what we were chatting about, was if it comes out at $400, I guess tinfoil hat theory is prevailing tonight. Is this Microsoft and AMD teaming up to create the most competition we've seen in a long time in the PC market? PC gaming is expensive. The components are expensive. And one of the main factors of the expense is there's very little to no competition when you get up into the premium hardware. And so is this, if it comes out at $400, this is going to severely definitely influence the price of console gaming going forward, because now you're going to have that, well, I can do all this, that, and the other on a $400 closed system box. Tell me why I should spend $1,000 to $1,500.
Yeah. And they can come out and say, by the way, we purchased AMD for X amount of dollars. Oh, and by the way, because of that, we purchased AMD. The Xbox One X Series X is going to be $400. We just cornered the market, so congratulations.
Did you say Microsoft purchased AMD?
No, I'm come on,
dude. That means for every PS5 out there, there's an Xbox logo under the hood. Have
exactly. So you corner the market and you make up your money that way. For every PlayStation, that's what Sony did. If you guys remember, with its Blu-ray technology, and
I did think it was funny that everybody was saying, "Well, wait, Michael Pachter said it, so you can't believe it because he said there wouldn't be any consoles after 360." I'm like, yeah, find me any predictor or any analyst that was 100% right on everything they've ever said.
Well,
I don't believe any analyst.
If I'm right, Michael Pachter was the individual that's described GameStop last year as a melting ice cube, and actually gave them 10 years of survival left. I thought that was a very large overestimation.
I mean, as they shrink and shrink, so yeah, they'll be survived. And Blockbuster, there was still a store. At least I don't know if it's still now, but a couple of years ago, there was still a Blockbuster somewhere.
It's not like Pachter has revealed anything that's, groundbreaking or that's not true. I mean, we see it on the surface, and we're not insiders. We see it when we walk into the store. So him making that claim is like, okay, we knew that 5 years ago, buddy.
Well, when you walk into the stores and all that other stuff, you actually don't feel like they have 10 years, especially now after COVID-19. But beforehand, I mean, when he made that statement last year, it feels like they've got less than 10 years. That's why I was just like, I definitely take him. I don't really hang everything off of what he says, because there is some, I guess you would say, flexibility in what he says.
Well, it just depends. Like, they haven't filed for Chapter 11 or 13 yet, so
but
even when you file, it just takes a while. It takes a while for these stores to close up, especially when you have as many retail spots as GameStop does. When they purchased Electronic Boutiques, they inherited over 3,000 locations, and they became international in the process. So that. You remember Funko Land? I think Funko is in Canada.
Yeah.
Funko. I know EB Games was in Canada for sure.
Yeah, they still are.
Yeah.
But it's under, obviously, GameStop, but it is EB Games. Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on in GameStop right now. I'm developing kind of a video that's been kind of like, it kind of gets bigger and bigger as time goes by, because it's amazing what goes on in there. There's actually an investor that's actually buying up a lot of stock in GameStop right now, which is actually causing their stock prices to go up as a result of that. So there's somebody who is actually playing some strategic games with GameStop shares to kind of get GameStop to be worth more money. And then also, like, I'm trying to find the article. It's kind of lost. Oh yeah. Now all of a sudden, like, on an article that I have here, it says activists investors ask GameStop for more changes, and they're actually asking for 2 board seats. So all the investors that have a weight in the GameStop brand have now demanded that they have 2 representatives that will sit at the board of GameStop, at the board meetings, so that way the investors actually know what is going on inside these board meetings. The investors at this point are pretty much forcing their hand and taking over GameStop because they are pretty much concerned of what the GameStop hierarchy is doing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you can save GameStop. I don't care who they hire. Because you would have to
saving retail.
Yeah, but you would have to fundamentally change. You would have to rebrand essentially and name it something else other than GameStop. I don't know how they would go about doing that. I mean, but yeah.
I feel like they already did that with their Think Geek stores, that are now part of them. So like we kind of just turn those into. I don't know if that's super lucrative, but
No, because those things are, they're not pulling in enough money on that, and their margins aren't too high. It's not like their used game business to where they're making a fortune off it.
I could see them undercutting Sony this time around, whereas like last time they were, coming in on equal footing from the previous gen. But this one, they see the plus side of that is they would gain a lot of market share, probably especially in the US, back by just undercutting by $100. Plus, it's the more powerful console, so it's kind of the flip side of that. If Sony's charging us for a weaker hardware, plus you're giving us all of your games on Game Pass.
Well, not to mention the fact that obviously we're, in this time period, right, where there's a lot of financial, I guess you could say, instability, uncertainty. And hey, maybe Microsoft is looking at the situation and being like, well, this is kind of trying times. We don't know what the situation is going to be like come November, whenever they decide to release. Let's say November, for example. Well, again, I don't have a magic crystal ball, but I would imagine that they're going to be taking the price into, they maybe now more than ever, they would be looking at a $400 price tag and being like, well, if we really want to cement ourselves in this climate, then they could take advantage of it in that way.
See, like to add on to what I said earlier about Microsoft right now is willing to wait probably no later than July to reveal the price for the Series X. If PlayStation has not revealed anything as of yet that's going to hint towards a price, I'm pretty sure Microsoft at that point would probably say $399, purely because that is going to be the safest number you could shoot out. That either your competition is going to sell it for the same cost, or you're going to take that gamble and that they're going to be more expensive. But the odds of the PS5 being less than $399 are pretty nil. So therefore, definitely Microsoft, at least if you look at that, is the surefire number that Microsoft would have to put out there if they're going to be the first ones to put out a price tag that they feel comfortable that either no one can beat, but at least meet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be.
You said beat meat there.
I can beat my meat pretty good, Centurion. I don't know about you.
Well, we were just talking about beef and pork and chicken, so But
this is how things work around me. I'm sorry, gentlemen.
Definitely. Yes. And don't forget ice cream too. A lot of people talking about ice cream in the chat earlier.
A lot of food talk tonight.
Well, I mean, people are hungry and.
Well, is quarantine getting to people? Are we starting to have podcasting about food?
I know, because I am in quarantine. No, I'm not in quarantine anymore. But the effects of quarantine have caused me to gain, I want to say 10 to 15 pounds, and that is being. Oof. Yeah, I'm kind of undercutting myself, but okay, let's say 20 to 25. No, I'm just kidding. Not that many. I probably gained a good 5 pounds.
Couldn't be the ice cream.
Yep. Oh, Shock's driving again.
I guess we'll find out soon, right? Yeah. Oh, man. Well, I guess we need to get you a couple of those Kinect workout games, huh?
Oh my
You know, you
God.
can't even so this is what happened when those came out. So I purchased those Connect workout games. I don't know if it was Extreme Fitness or anyway, I purchased a lot of them and I received a credit of $160 from Xbox because I purchased those and they discontinued everything and they just didn't do it anymore.
Oh wow.
Yep.
That's true. I mean, there's basically no Connect support, to say the least. So kind of forgot about that. But well, I mean, hey, there were some options, anyways. If you go
Yep.
if you go with your OG Xbox, anyways.
Yep.
Yep. And Shockley dropped again. All right, guys. I think that about does it for tonight's show. I really did enjoy our talk tonight. We highlighted our reactions to the latest Xbox Series X event, Dying Light 2, and a whole bunch of other stuff. I thought it was a pretty fun talk. Went back and forth about it. Good chat, guys. And hey, to everybody in the chat, thank you for coming out tonight to watch the show. Obviously, Fastback, NLG Gaming, you guys rock, by the way. Thanks for coming out. Crazy Greek Dude. We had Alex Basha here, of course, throughout the show. Solomon Curry, Geeky Nerd, Mr. Kima. Whole bunch of great people here. Thank you, guys. I know Jago was here earlier.
Hey,
Thank you.
don't forget about our Man-Eater giveaway. I know at first when I seen Man-Eater, I thought it was a joke, like it was a porno or something like that. But
Of course you would.
yeah, but don't forget about our Man-Eater giveaway. And don't forget, Shockley's now driving on the Indiana State Highway. I don't know where he is.
It's a great. He keeps popping in and out, in and out. Not sure what's going on there. Maybe there's some. The quarantine internet isn't working as good. But you know what? Maneater does look good. I did mention at the beginning of the show, Maneater. It does look like a very interesting, a unique game. It's by Tripwire, right? So it's done by the guys who did Killing Floor. That was a pretty good, fun game. Definitely a really. I think they're a good studio, but Maneater does seem like a pretty cool game. The Shark PG, I guess you could say it's a unique take on. It's a very unique title. I like it, and I know a lot of people when we announce it are excited about the game. So it's one of the more unique titles coming out this month. Shock, great to have you back, pal. Guys, if you happen to enjoy the show, then please share this out, give it a like, and leave a comment afterwards. We're going to head to the outros now. Shock, I'll get to you first. Not sure about your connection here. Where can everybody find you? And don't say the highway.
Yeah, not the highway this time. But sorry, I haven't been on my computer today. I've been on my phone, so it's gone in and out. But yeah, you can find me at Shock Nero on Twitter, Easy Shock on Xbox Live. But yeah, thanks for stopping by.
All right, good stuff, bud. Jeremy, good show. Where can everybody find you, pal?
What's up, my brother?
That wasn't creepy at all.
You can find me on Twitter. I'm currently arguing with liberals, but just to let you know, all you Obama fans out
Mostly
there,
Tim Dog.
yeah, Obama fans, if you're in the chat, F you. It's the Obama Gates trending on Twitter right now. 1.1 million tweets. It's 1.43 million tweets. So, haha. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Okay, Jeremy, no problem. All right, thanks very much, pal. Sorry, that was funny. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, I'll just head over to Centurion then. Centurion, where can everybody find you?
Well, for everybody, you can find me on Twitter, where the only colors I represent are that green, blue, and red Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo. I do keep it political free just because I don't have the backbone that Downer does. But you can always find me on Twitter, Xbox Live, and YouTube at Centurion1307. I also kick it with you great gentlemen every Sunday night right here on the TXR Podcast. And you can also find me on the Shop Podcast every Saturday night with PTK Blam and the rest of the crew.
Of course, good stuff. Definitely check out Centurion's channel. He posts. He's been putting out some pretty good content recently. Definitely check out.
No, please don't recommend the last video. Apparently, they're like apparently my last video. If you watch it, a small child will climb out of the screen, touch you, and you'll probably catch COVID-19. That video totally bombed. Oh my god, I'm just laughing because I didn't think about it when I released the video. I was like, everybody's probably avoiding social media right now because that whole Last of Us 2 leak. And of course, when you release a video on an Xbox event, I'm pretty sure people are gonna avoid it.
Well, it can go. Well, you'll be surprised, but going my way.
Oh, please, I'm not crying about the video flopping. I just thought it was funny.
Well, no, I'm just saying you've been doing some pretty good videos as of late, so definitely keep at it. I'm looking forward to your next one.
I'm actually gonna do some videos that are gonna kind of like, if you don't mind me, I was just actually wanting to do some videos that are actually gonna kind of help showcase some of these games that were shown at the Inside Xbox event and kind of go into a little bit more detail on what the games are about, when we can kind of expect them, and what we're expecting out of some of the stuff that they're wanting to put in these games that make them next gen.
Yeah, definitely. Xbox could have done a little bit better with their messaging there. So definitely, yeah, highlight them and talk about them.
Well, yeah, Xbox got me, so hey, I'm right here.
Hey, absolutely, brother. And hey, everyone, of course, I'm Invader. You guys can find me on my channel, Invader Gaming, and of course on Twitter at Invader_1986. Take it easy, everyone. I hope all the moms out there had a fantastic Mother's Day. And yeah, we hope to see you all next week. So until next time, fellas, have a good night.